Hello, this is Jim Stockstill bringing you another program entitled The Handwriting on the Wall. And the subject today is going to be the U.S. dollar, war, and oil. Now, the material that I have today is all my material. It comes from hours and hours, thousands of hours of study and lifelong research and seeking the truth. All I can ask is that maybe I arouse you enough to do your own research and form your own opinion. But I'd like for you to listen to this and do your own research. The U.S. dollar has been the reserve currency of the United States since 1944. In 1971, President Nixon removed the gold backing of the dollar, and the dollar became a debt-based currency. At the time that he did this, there were many more dollars out than there was gold to back it up. So he removed the gold as the backing. Then President Nixon's secretary was none other than Henry Kissinger. Now, Henry Kissinger is one of the biggest men in the New World Order. He writes many things. He may be number one, if not number two, in the New World Order, besides George Soros. So he's way up there in the New World Order. So the President Nixon's secretary, Henry Kissinger, negotiated a deal with Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia agreed that all of its oil must be bought in U.S. dollars. This necessitated all the countries of the world then had to buy oil in U.S. currency. So our largest export became the dollar. And all the countries had to have the dollar. As long as the nations agreed to do business in the dollar, everything was fine. Guess what happened in the year 2000? Saddam Hussein of Iraq, who had already been in a conflict with George Bush Sr.'s administration, he announced that Iraq was going to start selling its oil in euros. It was going to start doing its business in euros and not in dollars. Now, this was in the year 2000. Now, pay close attention to what I'm about to say. Dick Cheney was CEO of Halliburton. Halliburton is the biggest oil conglomerate of oil services in the country, in the world. It's in over 80 countries. He was vice president of the United States under George Bush Jr., and he was heavily invested in oil, as was George Bush Jr. and George Bush Sr. So his company authored a paper and gave it to Congress, which said that the dollar must remain the reserve currency of the world. He said it was going to take many years to ensure that, unless there was some kind of cataclysmic event that would allow the United States to go into the Mideast and use force to ensure that the nations keep the dollar as a reserve currency. Better than that, he said there needed to be another Pearl Harbor. So this is the year 2000. He's vice president of the United States. He's CEO of the biggest oil conglomerate in the world. His conglomerate, Halliburton, issues a paper saying that we need another Pearl Harbor so that we can enforce that the Mideast, our interest in the Mideast, that we can enforce the policy and see that everyone continues to buy and sell in dollars. So a year later, we have that Pearl Harbor. We have another Pearl Harbor. We have 9/11. Very same thing, airplanes attacking, just like it did, except this time it didn't attack a ship. They attacked the World Trade Center. And then at 15 years afterwards, we found out that that was a staged attack. Airplanes did hit, but airplanes didn't bring down the Trade Center. Now you need to check this out. I'm not just talking. You need to find out the answer for yourself. So we got our war on terror. We blamed it on bin Laden. And then we went after Saddam Hussein. Does that make sense? We blamed it on bin Laden and Saudi Arabia, and then we go after Saddam Hussein. We go in there, we completely obliterate them, we devastate the people of Iran, and we seize their oil. We impose many hardships on the good people of Iran. Not all these Iranians are terrorists. It's only a remnant that are terrorists. It's only a small group that are terrorists. The people largely are like we are. They want to raise their family. They want to school their children. They want to... It's only the Islamic extremists who want to kill for Allah. Now it even gets better. In 2011, Gaddafi of Libya, he was head of the African League of Nations, and he announced that the League Africa was going to abandon the dollar and go to a gold-backed currency. When he announced that, the United States goes into Libya, kills Gaddafi, seizes the oil, and begins its attack on Syria. Now that's exactly what happened. Benghazi, Libya. The big stink that's going on for years concerning Hillary Clinton, President Obama, the stand-down order, and letting Ambassador Stevens and his security services be killed. We let them be killed because they knew that weapons were going in through the embassy, through Benghazi, into Syria, because Syria does not want to deal with the United States. It does not want to deal in dollars. It does not want to deal with its oil with the United States. So you can see there's been an attack on Syria. We lied about Assad. We said he was killing his people. The people love Assad. And we've been blowing the heck out of Syria ever since. See, we want to go in and confiscate all the oil. We are an imperialistic society. Our government has become that way. And nothing gets in their way. They're ruthless. And people say, oh, I can't believe that. I didn't want to believe that. Who wants to believe that about their nation? Who wants to believe that about their nation? So, I'm starting to see clearly, and I hope that you can see clearly now. I haven't even started the thing. Yes, I have. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can see clearly now. You know the song, I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. All of life's obstacles, something like that, have gone away. Gone are the dark clouds that had me bound. It's going to be a bright, sunshiny day. I'm starting to see. I was perplexed for many years over how our dollar could be strong and not be backed by gold. And then all of a sudden, it's true our dollar is not backed by gold, but it's backed by something even more valuable than gold. It's backed by oil. Look at the Bush family. They're billionaire oil magnates. Look at the Bush Jr.'s Vice President, Dick Cheney, head of Halliburton Company, a multinational company and one of the world's largest oil field companies, operating in 80 countries. Lyndon Johnson oil, George Bush Sr. oil, Can you see they're all, our presidents have been heavily invested in oil. Our dollar is linked to oil, and as long as we control the oil, it doesn't matter how many dollars we print. The other nations have to buy the oil with the dollar. We could be $1 zillion in debt. And as long as the world has to keep a supply of dollars on hand to buy the most precious commodity in the world, then we're home free. Henry Kissinger signed an agreement, 1973, Saudi Arabia, making the U.S. dollar the only currency that the Saudis would accept for payment of their oil. Now we're trying to enforce that on all the other nations, but we've seized Iraq's oil. We're trying to seize Syria's oil. We want Iran's oil. And when we do, we'll make the U.S. currency the only acceptable currency for the world. Now, there's a lot of theories about that. If they ever change the currencies at which the oil could be bought, then we would have a flood of U.S. dollars coming back to the United States, and the dollar would be absolutely worthless after that because it would be backed by nothing. But what the illumination was for me was the fact that it has been backed by something. Most of your economists, your macro and microeconomists, and all these guys that are so bright that we never know what they're talking about, they've been saying, oh, it's gold back, and it's not gold back, therefore it's just worthless currency, and and they use factional ways to multiply it, and but it does have a backing. It does have a backing. It has oil as its backing, and as soon as oil is no longer its backing, and the other nations go to trading in another currency, then we will have superinflation. Our money be worth no more than the paper that is printed on. So the government doesn't want that to happen. It wants to keep the dollar good. Now, the people that are controlling this, they could change. The New World Order could change this, of course, but it doesn't look like that's what's happening. It looks like we've been fed even lies. As we research these things, it looks like we've been fed even more lies. 2000, Halliburton, an oil company, Vice President Dick Cheney was co-chairman of. They submitted a paper to the President and to the Congress stating the necessity of the United States to be aggressively involved in overseeing the oil production in the Mideast. The most salient point of the paper was we needed another Pearl Harbor. We needed some reason to go in to the Mideast. And then a year later, we get this Twin Tower. And then 15 years after this, we look at that and we see that it came down, it was professionally demolished. It was scientifically demolated. And you have to go research it. There's so much truth, scientific facts of physics, math, science prove that it came down because the beams were cut and explosives were put in. The plane did not hit it. If the plane would have hit it on one side, it would have weakened that one side, and if it did melt the steel, it would have fallen to the side that it was damaged. That's just the way anything works. If you got a fire on a wooden structure, and you light one side of it, after that side burns, it falls to the side that it was burned. But jet fuel cannot melt steel. It doesn't burn at a high enough temperature. It's just glorified kerosene is all jet fuel is. Look at that. Architects and engineers for 9/11, and it'll prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that these buildings came down at free fall speed, many explosions, a preponderance of evidence, and it will change your concept of the world. Now, if you're watching TV day and night, your concept is exactly what they're feeding you, because you're feeding your brain what the controlled media is telling you. You've got to go to alternate sources. Find people that are alternate news, that have some character and have some value. So I'm going to make it short today. We went in, we got our Pearl Harbor, we went in to Iraq, we seized the oil, and now we're in the Mideast trying to seize all the oil. World War III will be over who will control the oil of the world. America right now is on the offensive. We've overthrown many leaders in the Mideast and tried to replace them with our men, with our leaders. This is biblically prophesied, that there would be a conglomerate of nations, a 10-nation conglomerate in the Mideast that would be under the Antichrist authority. I didn't know that. It looks like America's been the one upsetting and trying to put in Muslim Islamic leaders. It's exactly what's happened with Mubarak, but the people didn't buy it, thank God. It's not God's time yet, but it's getting close. The Mideast is on fire right now, and we're keeping it going. There's been lines drawn in the sand. Syria has formed an alliance with Iran, and Iran with Russia. They want to have their own oil and use their own denominational currency. Russia doesn't want to buy in U.S. dollars now. China does not want to buy. So there's been a line drawn in the sand. Sides are forming. We just told Russia that not to fly over Syria, because Russia is getting the bad guys. We're training the bad guys. So I hope this has given you a little bit of information. I hope that I've done well enough to stir your interest. Until next time, this is Jim Stocksville saying, I want you to keep looking for the handwriting on the wall.